Okay, hello there. I'm Dennis. Thanks for dropping in. I appreciate it. I know it's been a minute since I've done a video, published a video on YouTube, and really it was just before the end of the year, so I haven't published one at all this year. I had some in the making. I actually had some ready to post, and then because of some life events that I had to take place in, sometimes things happen. You just have no choice, and you have to carry on. And it's not because I forgot Linux, it's just because I had other things that were taking priority over my Linux journeys. And it's time I think I can get back into this now. I think I'm going to have the time to do Linux justice. And that's my first son's name, by the way. uh, I hadn't been around and posted anything, but I'm fixing about to. And over this past couple months here, I've received a couple questions about some videos that I've done before about different operating systems. One in particular said or asked if I could recommend two one system D free system over another one, being Arctic's or Oberon OS, Open Box Arch Run It system. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and I'll get that done pretty quick here, I think. Meanwhile, I've been running Linux Mint Debian Edition on this machine right here, and we'll look at what I've learned and what I've done here. I've actually installed it. Let's see, I think it was December, toward the end of December, just before Christmas of 2022, I installed it on this machine right here. And we'll get into the specs on the machine and what I've learned and installed and how I've been using Linux Mint Debian Edition. I do have Linux Mint Cinnamon installed on another machine, and I had been using that for quite a while. And I remember I had done a video about Linux Mint Debian Edition, and I thought, I've got a machine right here, and I put it on there. And I'll be honest, I've been just totally pleased with LMDE. And there are some subtle differences, and you'll find those if you look at them deep enough. But on the surface, it's a great operating system. They both really are. But to be honest, I've been getting a little bored, might be the word, with Linux Mint Cinnamon. And that's why I went with the Linux Mint Debian Edition, so I could just learn a little more about Linux Mint. My only real thing that I don't like about LMDE is it's only available in the Cinnamon desktop at this point. My preferred desktop is XFCE, even after using Cinnamon for a couple years probably. I still would prefer my XFCE. Just a preference. So I'm going to quit yapping here and we'll get started. Okay, first things first, I guess. Let's real quickly look at my start menu. Over on the left side, you'll see your favorites. I've got GNOME Disk, Featherpad, OBS Studio, Kdenlive, Audacity, Krita, and System Monitor. Now, Kdenlive is a flatpak. In the category sound and video, you can see I've got quite a bit of stuff. Everything I've wanted to get. I haven't tried Power ISO yet, but I will. Everything in here I use, especially like right now when I get through this video, I'll be editing it. Some of these programs actually came in like this encoder OGM RIP. It came in with something else apparently. So to make a longer story short, I've got all the applications that I think are necessary for what I do for sure. And probably with the exception of setting up a printer, I hadn't done that. I don't really have a reason to, but I know it would be very easy. With the exception of setting up a printer, this was probably ready for most anybody, whatever they decide to do, whether it's just simply browsing the internet or video creation or, whatever they do. Play games even. I do have some games. I don't game a whole lot, but I do sometimes play a few games. And flatpak was installed. Let me go to my notes real quick here. And let's see, software that was installed by default was flatpak, inxi or inxi, MPV, celluloid, and the English dictionaries. Now, if you're using a different country with different dictionaries, it probably would make that change, I'm thinking, as well. So let's go. That's my menu, and I've got all the programs that I want in it. Let's go to the web page here. This is the Linux Mint home page. And when you go right here where it says download, you'll see a window pops up. And if you just click here, recommended, that's going to be Linux Mint based on Linux Mint Cinnamon based on Ubuntu. If you go here now and click on that, that's going to take you to Linux Mint Debian Edition. I still think that's a little confusing, but anyway, I think most of the time what happens is people just download it and they don't know that they've got which one they've got. So here's the download. You would click on that and it takes you here. There's the download button. Here's some release notes, and I'll make sure these links do get in the description below. It gives you quite a bit of information. You can actually do an expert mode. I hadn't done that, but I thought about doing it in a VM just to check it out, running an expert mode in a live installer, I'm assuming in a text or in cursive space. Documentation, we got some good documentation on, you can actually download this if you'll choose your language, download it and get a user's guide. Here's a Linux Mint, the Wikipedia. And it tells you here in 2010, Linux Mint released Linux Mint Debian Edition. All right. And then in 2015, they said they were going to basically not support the Debian version, LMDE no longer. So LMDE was on there, has been on their own since 2016, 7 years now. 7 years and a couple months. I think that's pretty interesting. So you may be wanting to look at the Wikipedia as well. So we'll close that and I'll make sure those links get in the description. There's a couple things in here that won't make it in the description because of those angled brackets. Unless YouTube starts allowing angled brackets, they're not going to make it. So here's the links we just looked at, and I'll make sure those get in the show notes or description down below. A little history, I just went over that. Installed by default was inxi and flatpak. I thought that was a pretty good combination, as well as the dictionaries. So I installed Audacity, Kdenlive as a flatpak, OBS Studio, Simple Screen Recorder, GVC View, Cheese, Voco Screen -NG, Krita, KPAT, iRiot, and some other games, the XFCE terminal, because this is my favorite terminal and it allows me to install it and use it, so I do. Inkscape, GIMP, Blender, Shotwell, Nomax, Featherpad, MPlayer, SM Player, TTF MS Core Fonts, Installer for the Times New Roman and Comic Sans, K3B for burning your disc, Audacious, DVDs, Asunder for ripping CDs, Reciro, Handbrake, Qubit Torrent, Chromium, GNOME boxes, and Meld. I was kind of surprised Meld wasn't installed by default, but you know, it's not installed by default on several distributions. Flatpak, I got Kdenlive, Nomax, Media Writer, Fedora Media Writer, and GNOME boxes just to have it on here. And for VirtualBox, I've already went over how to install VirtualBox on Debian Edition, and these web pages can be in the link below, or you can look at that other video and look at those notes. It was the same exact process. Let's see, I'll just show you. It says to add these to your sources list. So if I copy that, bring up another terminal, and I'll just go nano without any rights here, and you'll see that Fast Track Main Contrib, that's right here, and the staging is underneath that. So that's how easy that was to get VM running, VirtualBox. Okay, run update, reboot, add yourself to the VBox users group, and start your VirtualBox. Which, just recently here, we've got the newest version, 7.0.6, or revision 155176. So a newer version VirtualBox, and it works flawlessly. I've got a lot set up in here that I hadn't really had time to get to, but I'm going to. One that I did go ahead and set up was called Archcraft, or I should say one I had already installed now is called Archcraft. I've been looking at that a minute too. Linux Mint Debian Edition, apparently I forgot to record or I misplaced the installation on this machine. I can't find it, so I put it in here, and anybody says, hey, can you go through the installation? I'll record this and I'll have it as B-roll, I guess it might be called. It's something anyway. But okay, so that's VirtualBox. You got my menu set up the way I want it, my taskbar, clock. The volume works just great. A lot of things are absolutely the same, at least on the outside, as Linux Mint Cinnamon version based on Ubuntu. Linux Mint Debian Edition, therefore, is different. It's got some different commands and the ways they do things. But I'm telling you, in my experience so far, Linux Mint Debian Edition is just smooth. It's, somebody said, like an old comfortable pair of house shoes. When you get home, take your shoes off, put on them house shoes, and you're there. And I've covered this as well as far as getting No More Secrets or Sneakers installed. If you wanted to get that installed by chance, I'll try to make sure these get in the show notes below. If you want to find out if you got a SSD, let's just say you got somebody brought you a computer and you don't want to have to tear it apart, especially if it's a laptop. You want to find out if you got a spinning drive or a SSD. This is a good command for that. If you get a 0, that means SSD. If you get a 1, that means it's a spinning hard drive, rotational drive. I thought that was pretty neat. OpenSSH, if you're going to use SSH, the secure shell, you'll have to install openssh-server. That's not installed by default. And it uses systemd. So if you're familiar with systemd, it's systemctl, either status, disable, stop, or start. I have mine enabled right now. We'll see that it is enabled, but I usually turn it back off when I'm through with it. I just happen to enable it or start it actually a while ago because I was thinking about SSHing into one of these Arch Linux distros and installing them. So that's really going to be about all I got. I'll make sure most of these notes, the ones like, for instance, this command here shows angled brackets and it will not show. I'm sorry. YouTube will not allow those angled brackets. So, so I won't be able to get it all in there, but I'll get most of what I would think would be the important ones to just the end user. I tell you, I found nothing bad that I could say about Linux Mint Debian Edition. It's the only thing, as I said before, and I'll say it again, is the Cinnamon desktop. I've become used to it, so I can work around in it and got it looking sort of the way I want it for the most part. But XFCE is not available on Linux Mint Debian Edition. And I sure wish that somebody would look into that and make it available. I mean, it's available on Linux Mint, so it should be available on Linux Mint Debian Edition. There can't be that much difference in the two. I might set up a VM and see if I can install it. Anyway, that's probably going to do it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. Try Linux Mint Debian Edition. If you're looking for something that's stable and easy to run and a good, what you'd call a desktop environment for an end user, I think it's a great operating system. Thanks so much for watching. Peace out, guys. Bye.